presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are LA.
Baseball. Live from Camelback Ranch in Glendale, Arizona, Line Ticket presents the Dodgers as they take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Monday afternoon to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and D-backs, boy, they wailed on each other last year. They had 18 meetings, and the Diamondbacks won 12 of the 18. Not only that, they won 6 out of 9 at Dodger Stadium, and they won 6 out of 9 in Arizona, including the last 5 straight. Well, they met yesterday, and Arizona cleaned the Dodgers' clocks in a split squad game. The Diamondbacks are 9-11 in the spring, and the Dodgers are 8-12. Of course, remember last year, a good Arizona ball club finished third behind the Dodgers, who trailed the winning San Francisco Giants. So here it is. The Diamondbacks and the Dodgers going after each other again. We'll have the lineups. We'll get to the ball game. We'll have it all coming up for you right after this. Welcome to Arizona, and we're wishing you the best day of the year. It's a gorgeous afternoon here, so pull up a chair and we'll take a look at the Dodgers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kirk Gibson and Don Mattingly and company all set to roll around Camelback Ranch. Dodgers take the field, so we can take a look at Kirk Gibson's lineup. And it goes this way for Gibby, whose ball club beat the Dodgers 12 of 18 last year. Adam Eaton, a newcomer, is in right field. Willie Bloomquist, the incumbent, at shortstop. Gerardo Parra in center field. Aaron Hill at second base. Miguel Montero, Miggy as they call him, the veteran catcher behind the plate. Paul Goldschmidt at first base. Eric Hinsky, left-hand batter, will be the DH. Mark Teahan at third base, another new name. A.J. Pollock in left field. And on the mound, Randall Delgado. For Kirk Gibson's ball club, they had won 10, lost 11. The Dodgers have won 8 and lost 12. And last year, as we mentioned, Gibby gave the Dodgers a terrible time. He beat them 12 out of 18. And more than that, when he won 6 of 9 in Arizona, he beat the Dodgers the last 5 straight. So Arizona no longer with Chris Young, no longer with Justin Upton, but nevertheless a force to be reckoned with, thanks to the great work done recently by Kevin Towers. Kevin Towers was the general manager of the San Diego Padres And you have to remember the Padres advanced to the postseason 6 times while Kevin was the GM. Colorado during that stretch made it twice. Dodgers, Giants, and Arizona 4 times each. So Josh Wall, a reliever, substituting today for Josh Beckett. Josh Beckett, who's been having a wonderful spring, came up with a respiratory ailment, they told us, and so he's been scratched, and we'll see Josh Wall. The Dodgers today figure to back up Wall with Sean Tollison and Paco Rodriguez. Meanwhile, Adam Eaton, the left-hand hitting center fielder, and they are really looking to him as the leader in that leadoff role. And Eaton backs away the pitch low, ball 1. They figure he might not hit with any power, but he brings a speed factor to the lineup Arizona has needed. Plus, he can play center field very well, and they want him to lead off. Out of a stretch goes Wall. The right-hander delivers fastball high and away, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Josh Wall is a big man. He is 6'6", 215 pounds, out of Walker, Louisiana. Second-round pick by the Dodgers back in 2005. Eaton takes a look at the strike. In looking at Eaton, who is going to be running, of course, during the regular year, he does not have a stolen base yet, and Arizona does have 24. So the next pitch to Eaton is a full swing foul. Eaton figures to be the center fielder. And some new faces in the lineup. Cliff Pennington will be battling the shortstop Willie Bloomquist. Chris Johnson will be battling for the third base spot. And Mark Teahan is in that spot today. Josh Wall out of a stretch. Another check of the runners. And the right-hander deals. Hesitate to pitch a late breaking pitch. Apparently just missed the corner. Eaton flinched on it and then let it go by. The Wall looks in to get a sign. Out of a stretch goes the big right-hander. He goes 3-2 and is a line drive base hit into left field. So that, of course, is exactly what the Diamondbacks are looking for. A speedster, a line drive hitter, and now a threat to steal. That'll bring up Willie Bloomquist. And, of course, Willie Bloomquist is certainly no stranger to the Dodgers. He'd been in the lineup on and off. Right-hand batter. Wall now has to keep an eye on Eaton over at first. And Josh works the plate and misses a little high, ball 1. 1-0. Willie Bloomquist, one of those fellows whose first major league hit was a grand slam. He hit that 10 years ago at Seattle. He was playing for Seattle, and he hit the slam. Willie Bloomquist, as a little boy, his parents had a baseball uniform design pair of pajamas, and as a little infant, running around the house in the baseball PJs, they didn't last very long at all. Bloomquist rarely walks. He backs off and the pitch is inside, though he has the count halfway, 2 balls and no strikes. He rarely goes early in the count, so if he can build it up, he'd like to be up there around 4 pitches in that bat. That's his style. So Willie Bloomquist out of Bremerton, Washington, went to school down here in Arizona State, and a chopper in the hole, speared nicely at third for 1, and the Dodgers turn it for 2. Luis Cruz takes a base hit away from Bloomquist and makes the play. So 5-4-3 double play, and we have 2 out, and the batter will be no stranger to the Dodgers, Gerardo Parra. So Wall working on Parra. left-hand hitter, fine outfielder, who now has inherited center field now that Chris Young has moved on. Parra looks at a strike, and the count 0-1. Parra's from Venezuela. An even 6, 195, left-handed all the way. Last year he stole third base 4 times. Big bouncer foul down the line. So he is daring on the base paths. Parra came up to the Diamondbacks in 2009, and he's pretty much been a fixture. He's another fella who in his first major league at bat hit a home run. He did that back in 2009. So Gerardo Parra, 35, he'd be 36 in May. Josh Wall gets 2 quick outs on the double play, and now working on Parra. On deck, Aaron Hill. Ground ball up along first base, gathered in there by Gonzalez, feeds his man Wall coming over, and that'll be that. So for Arizona, no runs, 1 hit, nobody left, and at the end of half an inning, D-backs nothing, Dodgers coming up. Failed to score in the first inning. Nice double play turned in by Luis Cruz on the ball hit by Willie Bloomquist. We can take a look at the Dodger lineup now, and it reads this way. Carl Crawford will be the DH, followed by Alfredo Emeziga. He's at second base. Matt Kemp in center, and Adrian Gonzalez at first. Andre Ethier in right field. Luis Cruz at third base. Elian Herrera in left field. A.J. Ellis behind the plate. D. Gordon, the shortstop. And Randall Delgado ready to go to work. Carl Crawford checking in, having appeared as the DH yesterday. He was 0 for 3, and now making his second start in a big league game. Remember, last July, he had Tommy John surgery. He has a look at a pitch, low, ball 1, 1-0. Randall Delgado has bounced around a bit. We'll tell you what he's done in the spring. This would be his 5th outing. Right-hander comes back with a fastball, a one-hopper to shortstop. Up with it, there's Bloomquist, and that'll be that for Crawford. 1 away. Alfredo Emeziga coming up. For Delgado, he began his first season in the Diamondback organization after a 7-player trade with the Braves. He's averaged over 9 strikeouts per 9 innings in his 6 minor league years. So we'll see what happens now against Emeziga. Emeziga has had a very good spring. The first pitch to him a little low, ball one. 1-0. No score. We're in the bottom of the first inning. The Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. Meziga hitting a solid .289, shows bunt and takes a strike. Meziga, among other things, runs very well, and he is 2 for 2 in stolen bases. Delgado staring down the barrel, now into his windup. Back he comes, and the pitch popped in the air, foul off third. Coming over is Tien and makes the catch, so that'll do it for Meziga. Matt Kemp will get a hero's welcome. Yesterday, playing against Arizona over at Walking Stick, they referred to his home run as a monstrous home run. So for Matt Kemp, hitting just 167, but he has that home run and a couple of runs batted in. He's coming back, of course, from the tender shoulder. Well, Matt figures to play just about every day. Talking about playing every day, one Dodger has done just that, so they're sitting him down today. The pitch to Matt Kemp, swung on, ground ball to the hole. Nice pick at third by Tien to throw him out, and that's it. The one Dodger who's played in all of them and is rested today, Yasiel Puig. So at the end of an inning, it's the Dodgers and the D-backs, no score. Second inning, no score in the ball game. The Dodgers and the D-backs, and Aaron Hill will start it off. Nice crowd on hand, enjoying the sunshine. Temperature yesterday 73, might be a little bit hotter than that today. And the first pitch from Josh Wall, low and away to Aaron Hill. Aaron Hill from Visalia, California, went to school at LSU. One ball and no strikes. Next one misses. 2-0. For Aaron Hill, originally signed by the Blue Jays and came up in 05 to Toronto and finally came over to the Diamondbacks 2011. Ground ball up the middle. D. Gordon, a sliding stop, but he can't control the ball, and Hill will safely above board with a base hit. So Aaron Hill singles despite the heroic efforts of D. Gordon. That'll bring up an old pal, Miguel Montero, coming up. By the way, at the start of the third inning, we'll have a chance to visit with Dodger General Manager Ned Colletti. And we have a couple of questions trying to anticipate your questions. So see if they match up. So stay with us. We're in the second inning, no score. 2 hits allowed now by Josh Wall. And Montero, who was an all-star in 2011. Out of a stretch goes Wall and works it low, ball 1. Miguel Montero usually hits left-handers very well. In fact, 2 years ago, he hit as high as 346, almost 350 against left-handers. He's from Caracas in Venezuela, signed as a free agent by Arizona. The pitch off the plate, and the count runs now. 2 balls and no strikes to Miguel Montero. You would have to say the Arizona Diamondbacks have improved dramatically, and all because of the efforts of their general manager, Kevin Towers. The next pitch swung on, hammered to center, coming up to play it on a bounce is Kemp. So Hill gives up a single. Montero follows with one of his own, and Wall's in trouble. Remember, Wall was not supposed to pitch. Josh Beckett was supposed to start today, but he had an upper respiratory ailment. So Wall is rushed in as a starter. Montero singles. He's now hit in 6 straight in the spring. And here's the big guy, Paul Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt with a lot of power. 6'3", 245 out of Texas State. Goes after the first one. Doesn't get it. And the count 0-1. Goldschmidt is hitting .405 in the spring. Couple of doubles, and he has 5 runs batted in. The regular first baseman, and he figures to be so for quite a few years. He'll be 26 in the 10th of September. Born in Wilmington, Delaware, but he moved over here to Scottsdale. As big as he is, he bends at the knees and waist, hits one to center. Kemp started in, went back, settles under it to make the catch. The runner's tag, good throw, cut off it short, and they get an out on Montero. Smart play by the Dodgers. A brilliant play. The throw going from Matt Kemp to D. Gordon, and then Gordon flipping it over to Amezaga. So advancing is Hill to third, but it's a double play, 8-6-4. So 2 double plays in 2 innings turned in by the Dodgers. And now Eric Hinske coming up. Hinske, left-hand batter, takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Hinske is one of several coming over to the Diamondbacks during the reign of Kevin Towers. Like, for instance, Heath Bell is now in the bullpen for Arizona. You remember Heath when he was with San Diego, and he went to the Marlins, had a lot of problems there. They brought Bell to Arizona to back up J.J. Putz. They also have Martin Prado, a wonderful player, Cliff Pennington, and now they have some left-handed hitting. And there's a shot into right center, smothered in right center field. The desperate play by Amezaga, but no chance. So the run scores. 3rd hit of the inning as Hinske shot into right center field. So Arizona figures to have a very formidable offense. You might check your schedule if you want some fireworks. Whenever the Dodgers and the D-backs get together, it's going to be something. Because now all of a sudden, you know, they have Heath Bell, Cliff Pennington, the shortstop, Martin Prado, Matt Reynolds, Tony Sipp, Eric Chavez is now with them, Eric Hinske, Brandon McCarthy, and we're glad that Brandon is well enough to pitch again. Remember, he was struck in the head by a line drive pitching for Oakland. And they also brought back a former Dodger and Giant, Cody Ross. And as far as World Series experience, well, Chavez, Hinsky, Pennington, and Ross, they were in 64 postseason games. Only 16 players have returned for Arizona this year out of the 40-man roster. The next pitch fouled away. So Mark Tien waiting at the plate with the D-backs leading 1-0. Waiting on deck, A.J. Pollock. Tien played for Team Canada a couple of years ago, born in California, but his father was born in Canada. There's a soft line drive, gloved by Cruz, and the inning is over. Despite the brilliant double play, 3 base hits for a run. And at the end of an inning and a half, it's 1-0 Arizona. Friends, you know, Wednesday, April 3rd, the Dodgers and the Giants and the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive their very own Dodgers hooded sweatshirt, compliments of Coca-Cola. Stay warm at the stadium and at home by purchasing your tickets today at Dodgers.com/promotion. Adrian Gonzalez put on a show yesterday. He had 2 home runs and 6 runs batted in. So Adrian, who had been playing in the World Baseball Club for Mexico, is now back home getting his work done. His average at .259 with 7 RBIs. And the first pitch to him in nicely for a strike, and the count 0-1. Gonzalez, Ethier, and Cruz in that order. Delgado looks down, getting a sign. Stringy right-hander delivers a change that floats away. Delgado, at one time a member of the Braves, signed by the Braves almost 7 years ago. The pitch, a little dribbler up along third, picked up by Delgado, and he has no possible play. So Adrian Gonzalez, a full swing and a drop of water out of the end of a garden hose, and it turns out to be a base hit. And the batter now will be Andre Ethier. Yesterday we were talking about the fact that it was the anniversary of the last Dodger game at Holman Stadium in Vero Beach, the 17th of March, 2008. There's also an interesting kind of a historic note. On this day in 1943, and remember 1943, the world was in flames and the U.S. was vitally in it now in World War II. So the Dodgers trained up at Bear Mountain in New York using the facilities of the West Point Cadets. And I know one story that I could pass along, and it had nothing really to do with the Dodgers playing baseball, but it had a lot to do with fiery Leo DeRocher, the pitch high and away. And here it is. As they did so often with DeRocher and his coaches, they played a lot of bridge. That was the game, not poker, not rummy, not whatever. They played a lot of bridge. And they would play bridge in the Bear Mountain Inn next door to West Point. Anyway, Leo got into a violent argument over whatever play he made. Now, I know nothing about bridge, but whatever he said, everybody objected, and Leo said, wait a minute, I know somebody who can settle this issue. And they said, who? He said, he's right over there having dinner. Next foul ball. Anyway, it was Charles Gorin, who was a champion, a brilliant bridge player, wrote books about bridge. He was the resident genius. And Leo got up, full of himself, stormed over to Gorin and said, Mr. Gorin. And Charles Gorin looked up, and he certainly knew Leo's face. And he said, yes, Leo, what's your question? It'll come right after this pitch. And swung on and fouled away. And then Leo said, Mr. Gorin, can't I bid 2 aces over the club, whatever the thing was? And Mr. Gorin said, oh, no, Leo, you can't. Leo said, wait a minute, I'm sure. Now, he's talking to the greatest bridge mind. And he's saying, I know I can bid 2 so-and-sos over the third. Gorin says, absolutely not. Pitch in the dirt. Only Leo could look at Gorin and say, you don't know what you're talking about. And he walked away from Gorin back to continue playing bridge. That's what was going on back in 1943 in the snows of Bear Mountain. They had pictures of Dodgers skiing in uniform and Leo playing cards in the Bear Mountain Inn. Meanwhile, here comes the big pitch now to Andre Ethier. Swung on, big chopper to the hole, plugged up, and they will get a force play at second. Nice play by Aaron Hill to get the ball to Willie Bloomquist. So Gonzalez had an infield single. Andre forces him, and the batter now is Luis Cruz. Luis Cruz made a nice play on a ball hit by Bloomquist and started a double play in the first inning. It's 1-0 in favor of the visiting D-backs. Second inning. Run came on 3 hits by Arizona in the top of the second inning. So here is Cruz now with Ethier at first, 1 out. He backs off, looks at a slow curve in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Delgado has pitched against Kansas City, Texas, the Angels, and Minnesota. Done pretty well the last couple of times out. Lean right-hander set at the belt, looks over at first at Ethier. Now comes to his hitter. Cruz hesitates and then takes low. For Luis Cruz, like Gonzalez, he had left the Dodgers to play in the World Baseball Cup. He's hitting .276 with 2 home runs and 5 runs batted in. So he's had a pretty good spring. The next pitch coming on, and Cruz swings and belts it down the left field line, but foul. So they'll have to crank it up and try it again. 345 down the lines, 380 to the power alleys and left center and right center, and 410 to straightaway center. But in the heat, the ball appears to travel just a little bit better. All right, Cruz back up and waiting. 1-2 the count to the right-hand hitter. Swings and fouls the next one away off to the right. The capacity here at Camelback Ranch is 10,300. But then there are grassy knolls, left field corner, right field corner, out in right field, left center. They can hold another 3,000. The pitch to Cruz is off the plate. So if you put the folks sitting on the grass as well as those sitting in the seats, you could get about 13,000. And the biggest crowd we have had here last year on St. Patrick's Day, 13,655. The next one to Cruz, he winds up and then holds up, and the pitch is low. As far as attendance is concerned, Dodgers have drawn almost 80,000. They're averaging about 6,600 a game, and they played 12 games at home. Delgado leans on the left knee to get a sign. Cruz waiting. Now the right-hander delivers. Runner goes, and it's fouled back. Elian Herrera waiting on deck. 1-0 Arizona. Again, a reminder, Ned Coletti will be up here starting in the third inning. We're now in the bottom of the second. And we'll see what he thinks, about spring training. What did he think of the World Baseball Classic? What do you think about all the games that have been played? And then how do you judge the outcome of these games? We got a bunch of questions for him. 3-2, runner goes, and Cruz hits one in the air to deep right center field. Racing over and making the catch is Aaron Eaton. And the throw back to first in time, and they double up Ethier. So Andre Ethier doubled up as Adam Eaton makes the catch and then nails him. We've now had 3 double plays in 2 innings. The Dodgers have turned 2, and now the D-backs turn 1. And don't forget, Ned Coletti will be here in the third. At the end of 2, 1-0 Arizona. We're going to the third inning, an interesting game. We've had 3 double plays in the first 2 innings. Arizona leading the Dodgers 1-0. And our guest general manager, Ned Coletti. Ned, this question I bring up, I think, almost every year, just to the fans. Way back in 1963, the Yankees were managed by the Major, as they called him. Yep. And Ralph said, the hardest thing about spring training, if you win too many games, you might think you're better than you really are. If you lose too many games, you might think you are worse than you are and make needless changes. So my first question then is, as the general manager, how do you interpret wins and losses, or don't you even think about that?
I don't think about it very often. I think about what you see in effort and what you see in different. Every play to me is a chapter. It's a matchup, and as you see young players match up against veteran pitchers, or vice versa, it tells you a little bit about that. It's all in sequence to me, like snapshots.
Tough moment there. Pete Moylan is now in the game. A.J. Pollock hit one up the middle, and Gordon playing all out, a head-first dive. Could not come up with the ball. That's the second time he has dived at a ball in just 3 innings. So they're out there making sure he's okay. Hanley Ramirez, of course, in case you wonder, is in San Francisco because they'll be playing in the World Baseball Classic tonight. Question: are you allowed to disagree with the World Baseball Classic as a baseball man, or must you say the commissioner wants it and it's the greatest thing that ever happened?
It's well, I do think it's good. I think it's great for the game globally. I think there's really no great time to play it. I think there's always going to be a time that you can find argument with, but I think that it does have great interest. Now with USA out of it, I understand that it's a little bit tougher sell right now, but I think it's great for the game in a general way.
Well, if the Netherlands loses tonight, it winds up with Puerto Rico against the Dominican Republic for the honors. And of course, with the Dominican Republic, Hanley Ramirez is playing, so he's not here in camp. Moylan now is pitching to Adam Eaton. And boy, they are really high on this guy, the right fielder, taking over for Justin Upton. He is not a Justin Upton. He is not a power hitter. He's a feisty, get-on-base, steal bases kind of player, and a very good defensive outfielder who just doubled up Andre Ethier at first base moments ago. So Moylan pitching to him with Pollock at first and nobody out, 1-0 Arizona, and the pitch is swung on and sprayed foul. A point. Hanley Ramirez is going to be the shortstop or the third baseman, one of them. D. Gordon is battling for the shortstop spot. Ramirez was going to play shortstop during the winter, couldn't do it for a couple of reasons. On the Dominican club, they said Jose Reyes was going to play short, so Hanley was still at third. Is that kind of a wasted time as far as Hanley's chance to improve, or has he done enough good work when he's here?
Well, he's got off to a good start here. The extra work he did with Timmy Wallach and the staff before he left was great. When he does get back, we have to pick that up. It is good from an offensive standpoint for him because it is competition, and it's obviously a stronger competition than it is for spring training. But the defense is an area that we've talked to him about getting better at it, and he worked probably 10 straight days here before he left and showed great improvement at it, but he needs to pick that up when he does get back.
And he'll be back here, I guess, after this fly ball into the gap in left center field. Nobody there, and it's going to go to the wall. So here's Pollock on his way to the plate without a score. Eaton is in with a head-first slide at third, and the Dodgers better write that name down. Adam Eaton. Adam Eaton out of my hands, you might say, and he's already 2 for 2, an RBI, and the D-backs lead 2-0. Do you have many reports on him, Eaton?
You know what? I think in the last 5 minutes we've seen exactly who he is from the reports. He can really play defense, and if he gets the ball in a gap, he's going to run and he's going to do some damage, double, triple ways. He's a good player. He's a solid player, and as you described him, that's what he is.
And they have one of the better players whom we're not going to see today, Martin Prado, to play at third. He's a dandy. Moynihan now out of his stretch, set at the belt, looks over at third, comes to his hitter low, and the hitter is Willie Bloomquist. Another thing, how does a general manager look at a pitcher's numbers? And does it vary whether it's a starting pitcher who figures to make the club or a reliever who's battling to make the club? Must you have positive numbers to make it?
Well, as far as a veteran goes, a veteran starter, that's one of the toughest things about spring training because they get ready at their own pace. And I've talked to veterans, whether they're position players or whether they're pitchers, they really don't know half the time who they're facing or how they're trying to get somebody out. They're just trying to get themselves ready. For a young pitcher, I like to see the last 10 days here, the last 10 days, 2 weeks, is you're going to see hitters that are more ready to go than they were 2 weeks ago. And like you watch Josh Wall, young pitcher, trying to make our club, how he does against these guys that are getting closer to being big league season ready. And I think that's kind of a key. What you see early in the camp is kind of interesting. What you see late in the camp, I think, is far more instructive for you.
There's always a battle cry during spring training and even the first couple of weeks of the season. There's a check swing and a strike. And that is, one time you'll hear the pitchers are ahead of the hitters. And then later you'll hear, well, the hitters are ahead of the pitchers. Now, can you actually put a date on that? When is it?
When does it all even out?
Well, when do the pitchers get ahead or when do the hitters get ahead? How does that work?
I think it's all on the individual.
2-2 pitch is swung on. Ground ball to short. That's going to get a run home. The out recorded at first. D-backs have scored twice now and lead 3-0.
The hitters that are hitting 300 or better are ahead of the pitchers, and the pitchers with low ERAs are ahead of the hitters.
Okay, that's good enough for sure. All right, now it's 3-0. If pitching is at least 75% of the game, I don't know what percentage you would put on it, but everyone always talks about pitching is the most important. That's why you usually have 11, 12 pitchers on a staff. How many pitchers, all calibers, when the Dodgers came to camp, how many pitchers did you start spring training with?
Boy, I think we started with close to between 25 and 30.
Wow.
Yeah.
But of course that makes a lot of sense because of the WBC and players having to get ready. Spring training was earlier this year. You needed a lot more bodies to pitch. I think you're playing 40 exhibition games.
Extra games this year, plus a few split squad games along the way. And the pitchers, you got to almost be less than more early on. Mm-hmm. If somebody has a rough if they're going to go 3 innings and they've had a tough couple of innings, that's it. So you're always going to be short an inning here and there unless you have enough to cover it.
I used to always talk about the presence of the rubber shirt that the players wore to sweat off excess pounds, and that's the way it always was way back when. But in this day and age, I think you can truly say every player who comes here is in good shape. All they need is a little tune-up as far as eye-hand coordination or whatever.
Yeah, they do spend a lot of time getting in condition in the offseason. We have camps all year long, too, that keep guys at least close to where they were at the end of the season. Certainly the month after the season, players need to kind of refresh their bodies and take a little time off. But it's different than it was years ago, where they do spend more time on conditioning, and probably for the most part because of what they can make and what they can earn by doing it, and because they don't have to work a second job in the winter.
There's a high fly ball to right field. Backtracking, waiting for it to come down is Ethier. And that will take care of Gerard O'Para. And will bring up Aaron Hill. Aaron Hill has probably been one of the more successful hitters this spring on any team. He's hitting .517. That kind of gets your attention, although it brings up a question. You have to be careful about players who played winter ball and come to spring training, don't you? They're suddenly ahead of everybody else.
It's a great note thing. It's because they've been playing, and they come right from Latin America, for example, and they come right in here while other guys have been sitting at home or working out for 3 or 4 months. So you have to measure that too. Spring training is, for me, it's really measuring the entire package somebody can bring. If they've been playing, if they haven't been playing, if they're coming off an injury. And then you combine that with what they do in certain situations against certain caliber of players. As I said, the last couple of weeks is very interesting because the major league guys are pretty ready to get it going. And if you got somebody trying to make the club, you'll see if they're really ready to make the club.
I bet. Do you scout? Do your scouts scout exhibition games?
Oh, yes. We've got every team is covered. A couple scouts on every team in baseball, both in Florida and Arizona.
Moynihan's pitch is whacked down, up with it easily at short, looking okay as Gordon to throw him out. However, the D-backs put a deuce up on the board, and at the end of 2.5 innings, it's 3-0 Arizona.
When we build
built the Cadillac ATS from the ground up to
about health. You came here with your team and a lot of questions about health. Are you satisfied at this stage with the condition of all of your pitchers?
You know, Ted Lilly hasn't had a lot of opportunity. He had one game that was rained out after an inning over in Scottsdale, and he pitched yesterday. I saw him over at the Arizona ballpark. I think Ted needs to build a little bit more arm strength. Guerrier has missed most of last year. He's come back and he's had some good days. Position player-wise, I think Carl and Matt are both on track to open without any issues, providing there's no setbacks. If they continue on the same path, I think they'll both open with us.
Well, that's good. So it's elbow for Carl Crawford, and he's swinging the bat reasonably well. Matt hit a home run yesterday, so I guess his strength is starting to come back.
Yes.
Elian Herrera, one of the many battling for a job. He'd be followed by A.J. Ellis and then D. Gordon. In the third inning, 3-0 in favor of Arizona. We have one big headline player. Every now and then you get it. The pitch is a strike, and that'll do it for Herrera. 1 out in the third inning. Certainly the headline player for the Dodgers is the big kid from Cuba, Yasiel Puig. I know it's early, but he has certainly caught the attention of everybody.
Well, you know what? You can watch him either, in a game or in BP and turn your back to the field, and when he's hitting, you know it.
Maybe.
You know it by the sound. You know it by how far it goes. We've been waiting for spring training since we signed him to see how he would do in almost a daily routine, and he's done very well. I think if you look at the scouting report on him, he's got a plus arm, plus speed, plus power. He still needs to play every day. He needs to play the game a lot. He's got a little bit of rough edge to him, but the talent there is really, really special.
He had problems in Puerto Rico, and I think he struggled in the Arizona Winter League here. So it's a big surprise. But the big question now is, in spring training, almost anybody up here can hit a fastball.
Yes.
But how far away are you on this 18th, 19th of March from opening day? How far are you from starting to see Major League breaking balls, Major League change-ups? They're not here yet.
No, it'll start in the next couple of weeks, but like we were talking at the break, between midnight on the 31st of March, the last day of the camp, and April 1st, everything changes drastically. That's something we need to see from him, and we need to see how he adjusts to really true big league pitching. Mm-hmm. Not somebody trying to make the club, not somebody trying to work on just getting ready, but somebody who can really pitch. And I think that's really what separates every good hitter And, they started to pitch him in a little bit more lately. They started to throw more breaking stuff away. And, he's adjusted so far, but the game is always an adjustment.
The best line so far I've read about him was a quote from Don Mattingly, who said, when the pitch is in the strike zone, he makes contact.
Yes.
He'll miss chasing pitches, but not if they're in the strike zone, which is really encouraging.
It's rare that in spring training, I have to almost go back in Arizona to like when McGuire and Canseco were coming up with Oakland, where you'd heard all this about him, and when they play games over at Phoenix Municipal Stadium, everybody stopped to watch.
Yeah.
And it's the same ththing with Puig.
Sure. And I remember years ago, the Giants training, and they had a phenom. They called him Hondo. And all through New York, they kept waiting for Hondo. Turned out to be a pretty good player by the name of Clint Hartine.
Yes.
And I just look at Puig now, and I'm starting to wonder and watch his development. It should be interesting. The other story, and we might be able to get it in, maybe not, but it's the beat-up veteran who has had a couple of very disappointing years, and he's still trying to make the squad. And that, of course, would be Juan Uribe.
We've had Juan play some first base. We do need somebody that can play first when Adrian takes a day off, so you would go right-handed hitter versus the left-handed Gonzalez. He's actually played first base pretty well. He's had a decent camp offensively. His defense is, his range isn't great, but what he can get to, he's pretty sure-handed with it. He's been good at first base, and we'll see how the open